That's amazing. I mean, your timeline, your journey to China, you said you were here in 2007.
Yes.
Like, I don't even remember 2007.
Have you been to China in 2007?
I think I was in China in 2007, but I was, small. I was a small person. But it's really amazing just to talk to someone who has seen the changes of it all and who has kind of like, it really shifted the course of your life, like coming, just being open, having that exploration.
Sure.
Because I would say, especially during that time, again, because of the shrouded mystery of it all, maybe some people wouldn't even think of China as an option. It would just be like way too distant or way too, I don't know, like uncertain of a future. And I think for you, you really leapt in, and now your whole life is kind of dedicated to it, To hear that you started the YouTube channel to kind of maintain that connection to China is really sweet. So
I started the YouTube channel because I just thought, I'm an American that lived there for a long time, speak Chinese, understand the culture. I mean, I probably know more about China than 99% of Americans, So I can share, I have some perspective here, So I'm like, it's kind of almost like, it'd be a little bit of a waste of an opportunity if I don't kind of share my story a little bit and try to help people understand China more. And that was especially during like COVID, right? When all of a sudden, very big anti-China sentiment started raising up. I was living in Vancouver, Canada. I mean, Vancouver has a tremendous Chinese population. Interesting enough, at the same time, there was a tremendous amount of anti-China, racist attacks and a lot of things happening in Vancouver, which really upset me because, Canada is a country where, diversity and immigration have been a very big part of that story. And so, I mean, I saw this in personally, like firsthand, like racist things towards Chinese, where like, for example, I was shopping in a mall, and there was an old elderly Chinese couple who were speaking Chinese to each other. And this person, started like, don't you speak that language here? Like, we're in Canada, you speak English. And I'm like, whoa, like, these people can speak whatever language they want to each other.
And I bet they don't say that to people speaking French.
Yeah, right? And I was just like, I'm like, you can speak whatever language you want.
Vancouver, it's like a quarter of the population probably speaks Chinese.
Yeah, and so there was a lot of like racist things that I saw, and it became very personal to me because my wife's Chinese, we have 3 mixed race children, and I said, look, there's nothing wrong with speaking Chinese. You have to, even if we have differences, right? I know that not everyone is going to look at the Chinese government in a favorable light, but, put that aside. Let's talk about the people-to-people connection, right? Chinese people are amazing. The culture's great. And if you come here, again, by coming to China, it doesn't mean that, I serve the government or I agree with everything, but it's like, forget the government. Just come here and experience the country.
Yeah.
Experience the food. Experience the culture. Connect with the people. Have a great holiday here.
Yeah.
And just get a little bit of taste of what's really happening on the ground here in China. You're going to leave a different person. And I mean, I don't know a single person that's actually been to China and then not left with a totally different perspective from what the media has presented to them.
Yeah. I read a Wall Street Journal opinion page the other day saying that if there's only one thing coming out of this US-China summit meeting, that is there are a lot of officials in the Trump administration who's never set foot in China.
Right.
Marco Rubio has never been to China. Stephen Miller has never been to China. And this opinion page writer says it gives you a different sense of what the people feel like having had them serve you food, talk to you, chat with you, not about politics, but just about regular stuff.
For sure.
And then I thought about, he's writing about Stephen Miller, so God knows what they were talking about.
Right.
Does this guy even have a personal life?
Right.
But there's always one question I wanted to ask you, Cyrus. How do you think your view on China have changed since you've started doing your channel? Because you've been living in China for a long time,
right.
And you went to Vancouver. You started doing your channel as a way, it's lovely, as a mean to connect to your old memories, your friends, your experience living in China.
Right.
But your channel has since grown into like 1 million followers, a big thing now. How does turning it into like a semi-career for you changed how you see the country, the people, your experience back then when you were still a young person? You're still a young person now, but even younger person teaching golf in Shanghai.
I mean, I think honestly, it's just made me have more appreciation for China. And I think, when we talk about how fast things change in China. I like to give this really good example of, back in 2007, everything in China was done in cash. right? And that continued up until, probably like say 2015, 2016. So, and what's happening in China is there's this amazing ability from Chinese people to change very quickly. So, for example, when I tell people in America, China's a cashless society, and they're like, what does that mean? And I'm like, yeah, well, everything's run through WeChat, everything's on your phone, people don't use cash. Everything's digital. And in America, people are scared of that. They're just like, whoa, that's just the government trying to like control everything. I'm like, no, it doesn't really have anything to do with that. But Americans would be very, very skeptical to changing to a system like that. But China, they're so used to seeing change happen so fast. And so I think, for example, if you're a 60-year-old Chinese person, think about what you've seen in your 60 years of life, right? When you were born, China was very poor, right? I mean, very poor. I mean, it was one of the, there was not a lot of development there. And then you've seen it opening up, you've seen it develop. Now you've seen it become, the leader in many of the most important technologies in the world. And now you're seeing a society where you travel around the country. And I mean, even the changes that I've seen in Shanghai, I mean, I remember how smoggy and dirty, the streets were. I mean, back in the day, people were honking on the streets. There were motorcycles everywhere. There was kind of this chaos of being in China. And you kind of embraced it. Like, I liked it because I'm like, man, this is so cool. Like, you're in the kind of like the, this crazy country, that's got a lot of action. There's a big energy to that. And then now everything is, the streets are clean. The smog has been cleaned. Everything is now electric vehicles, right? I used to drive a gas motorbike to work. Those are banned, right? They're gone. Everything's now electric because of the environment.
Yeah.
And so, the ability for Chinese people to change and see these changes and adapt change, that's something I think is really, really interesting. And again, just think about like going from an all cash society to an all digital society really within like less than a year. The transition was instant. It was really, really cool to see. So I think Chinese people are very open to change because they've seen their lives change significantly. And I think that's a big part of the story here.
And from what you said, it's also because I also, came here as a kid a lot, and I saw these changes as well, within like a decade, the cashless society happening. And it's interesting because a lot of our elders, they are more efficient and proficient at their phones, the digital technology, than I am. They know all the hidden features of the WeChat mini
Shame
program.
on you, Mimi. Shame on you.
No, look, I'm so proud of them. And also, it goes to show the level of connectivity the society has as well. I don't think it's actually created to separate everyone or atomize everybody.
Right.
And there are so many free classes for elders to access where they can learn how to, use these devices or use these apps to integrate them into this new version of society.
大家好，我是主播周玉琴。很多的朋友告诉我们，选择原版的太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌。它添加有羽衣甘蓝，健康再加分。而有睡眠困扰的朋友们，赶快选择蓝色包装这一款晚安加强版，绝对是更有感。每日克菲尔，时刻美好 ，Good Feel Good， 请上快点购为健康下单，而且要记得输入推荐代码，有额外的折扣优惠。太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌基础版、晚安加强版，新包装改版，内容不变，抽取更方便。要吃就吃最好的。